And many years ago, I had the experience of grinding with an angle grinder on a big complex steel form and started to hear a celestial melody. I also realised that as I moved my grinding disc around on the surface, I could find sweet spots that caused this melody to play stronger. I had about 6 or 8 blokes working around me, and I made them all stop. And I introduced them to it, and I played a performance on this angle grinder for them. One of the guys pointed out to me, when you find and activate that tone over there, this window starts to really rattle. We found that other tones would make the roofing iron on the shed vibrate. We then had this background noise of the rain falling on the roof, and the downpipe started to sing. And this perception that had been awakened was saying, listen in to the sound of the downpipe. Listen in to the sound of the tin on the roof. Listen in to the sound with the angle grinder. And we started to be aware that somehow one sound seemed to be communicating to every other sound, and they were playing in concert.
Where are we?
Well, we're sitting on my back veranda, and we're on the eastern entry into the Kinkin village. So this is the Noosa River catchment area. We're in amongst rolling hills with gum trees and with cattle walking around.
And there are a number of sculptures in the garden. What's going on here?
Well, I have a great fascination with vibration. Sound of fleshy fingers on steel bars.
What does metal taste like?
Metal tastes like blood. Of course, you're talking to blacksmiths, so iron tastes like blood, and in fact, blood's got a lot of iron in it. It is the iron that makes the blood red. Steel is cherry red at 850 degrees Celsius, and everywhere from 850 degrees Celsius up to about 1,200 degrees is the territory of the blacksmith's craft. Imagine this. The Earth, as I understand it, is about 90% by mass iron. And they talk about the magma being molten iron, this red iron inside the Earth. And from a blacksmith's point of view and a welder's point of view, if I consider the Earth being 90% iron and most of it being red hot, we're actually dwellers on the crusty scale of a ball of molten iron flying through space. The Milky Way is nice and milky tonight. See the cloud of the stars there?
Oh. Is there a name for this one here?
This instrument was never named, and I really can't tell you how come it never got a name. And any time I've thought of naming it, it really seems that it's not the time. It had a time when it would have been named if it had had a name, but this one just has avoided having a name. I call this the Kremlin hinge. You've heard of a Parliament hinge, probably. Well, this is the Kremlin hinge, the Rocking Revolution hinge. Come around this side. Okay. This was a 1,000-gallon diesel tank, fuel tank from a farm. And it had a rust hole in it, and I picked it up for $100 at a scrap metal yard. And I had it here for about a year and a half, and I'd ask it every couple of days, what do you want to be when you grow up? And finally the whole notion of dueling banjos kind of came to me, and it sort of came out of the turmoil and the trouble of what Kin was going through at a particular period of change. And so I cut the two ends off and just welded a plate on and used a bit of I-beam for an arm, and used a bit of stainless steel balustrade wire for the strings. And I set up these bars both to brace the arm and also to act as resonators. So they transfer vibration through the whole system, and they create circuits. I've learned that if I do this frequency change very gently, it's not so abrasive on the ear. These curious harmonics start emerging. Listen to the pitch of those two sounds. Ooh, now something shifted. It's moved frequency. Ooh, what that? Who did that? Ooh, I like that one. Let's keep exploring.
Yeah.
It's got a nice...
Beautiful.
Everything is sizzling. And even with my eyes closed, as I look into the so-called blackness, the blackness isn't that black. It's a kind of darkness that's sizzling with purples and greys and sometimes golds or different colours. But the black is a dancing pattern of formlessness. And the sizzling is in the way the light dances in the darkness, or the darkness dances within itself. And the sizzling, well, some people might say I've got tinnitus, and that's possible. But also in the sizzling, it's as if the field of energy that manifests things, in which all things exist, that the energy itself sings as electricity might sing in a wire, or it sings as if light passing through air moves molecules around in such a way that a song is inherent in the movement, in the motion. So sizzling isness, in a sense, is the contemplation of emptiness.